Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Sorry, Bucko fans, but the savior Jeff Locke didn't pull it out last night. Pirates got blasted by the Padres. What was the score, Dash?
7-1.
Ugh, brutal.
4-game series. They split the series 2-2, moved to 26 and 24 on the season. They actually start a series tonight versus San Francisco. But yes, Jeff Locke, he got lit up yesterday to end the series.
Story of that dude's life.
That's what you keep saying, man, but you don't look at stats. In fact, we just did a segment where we were talking about him going 8 innings with 1 earned run, but you don't even pay attention to that.
You can have a good outing every once in a while if you suck, just like you can have a bad outing every once in a while if you're good.
And he's a 5th starter, let's remember that. But listen, 4 innings pitched yesterday, 8 hits, 7 runs, 6 of those earned. He let up a jack, 3 walks with 3 Ks. So this was maybe not his worst outing, but one of his worst outings of the season for sure. And then right after the game, the Trib came out with an article saying they want Locke out of the rotation. They don't know what to do with Locke. Yeah, they want Worley in the rotation. There's more options than that moving forward, though, actually. But let's not forget, Locke's coming off of 2 starts where he went 11 2/3 innings, letting up 3 runs combined.
I'm a complete Locke hater, and I don't think he deserves to be in the bullpen, but it's real easy for the Trib to go and say Worley should be in there, considering it was one time now since Worley's been kicked out of the rotation. So if Worley would have been kept in and Locke would have been shipped to the bullpen and Worley would have had 1 bad start, you could say the same exact thing. You can't call for him out of the rotation for 1 bad start, although I don't think he should have been left in the rotation in favor and send Worley to the bullpen. I think it should have been the other way around before, but I've never been a Locke fan. I'm not saying that just because of this start.
Well, entering the season, I would have said, yes, I want Worley over Locke, but by the time they demoted Worley to the bullpen, Locke was pitching better, so, I mean, you want to leave the hotter starter in at the time, but you can always make a move to put Worley back in the rotation without getting rid of Locke. Just put him as the long reliever in the bullpen.
Locke being a lefty, I think, had a little bit to do with it, because him and Worley were so close that it gave him that little bit of an advantage.
Him and Burnett are so close, too. They just sit there and talk to each other the whole frickin' time.
Why hasn't he learned anything?
Oh, yeah, I don't know what's up with that. But Locke on the season, his ERA isn't looking good right now. It's 5.34, 55.2 innings pitched, 63 hits, 33 earned runs, 6 jacks isn't terrible, 23 walks, 45 Ks isn't terrible either. But when you really break it down, he had 3 starts versus the Cubs. Okay, 2 of those were on the road. In those 3 games, he combined for 12.1 innings pitched, 21 hits and 9 walks. So he allowed 30 base runners in 12.1 innings against just the Cubs this season. He let up 14 earned runs and had 16 Ks. He struck them out a lot, but the Cubs strike out a lot as a team. So the Cubs are really lighting him up. And then if you break it down, 6 home starts, he has a 3.52 ERA this season at home. If you don't like that out of a number 5 starter, you're freaking crazy. But then you look at the road, 4 road starts, a 9.35 ERA.
Yeah, so the dude can't pitch away, and he can't pitch at Chicago. He can't pitch against Chicago. Chicago's in our division, and we play 81 away games, so I don't know.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Listen, you got Locke in the rotation. He's pitching great at home. I don't want to take him out of the rotation. I'd leave him in the rotation, but maybe if he does have a game against Chicago coming up or a road start, hey, Worley's there. You can pitch him.
What about, and I know you're not a big fan of the 6-man rotation, but Hurdle really seems intent on saving these older pitchers with Liriano and Burnett, saving their arms a little bit. I mean, even Cole, they don't really let him go too long into games. You don't see a Pirate pitcher throw too many complete games. And
it's been years, actually.
Right. And is there any chance that they just bump Worley in there and go to a 6-man rotation?
See, I don't think that's such a good idea because we're already questioning, should Locke be in a rotation? We already question, should Worley be in a rotation? So you don't want both of them in the rotation then.
I don't want either one.
You want the one that's pitching better in the rotation, if any at all. I mean, you can make a deal later in the season, but to open a season, it's not a bad idea to have just decent starters at the back end of the rotation instead of beasts like Steven Strasburg. And if he's not pitching well, you just got to stick with him. You know, you can't make a deal to get rid of Strasburg. But anyways, Locke in his career has a 4.18 ERA.
Garbage.
Now, you say garbage, but out of my number 5 starter, a 4.18 ERA
is garbage.
Is pretty good. Listen, if you have a quality start, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, that's a 4.50 ERA. Now, you don't want to do that every time, so you want a little bit better ERA than 4.50 over a course of a season. But, I mean, a 4.18 ERA out of a number 5 starter isn't terrible at all. It means that you're keeping your team in the game most of the time. Now, his 5.34 ERA this season, that's just not acceptable, so he's going to have to pick it up. But like I said, he just came off of 2 good starts. He just got lit up. Let him have a couple starts here. If he keeps getting lit up, and then maybe make a move. But if maybe he'll bounce back, and his ERA will quickly lower back into the 4s.
I think if the Buccos want to make a serious run at the World Series title like Buster Olney predicts, they got to get somebody better than Morton, Locke, or Worley. They got to put one more arm in there that you actually can count on.
Right now, you can't take Morton out of the rotation.
I'm not saying take him out. I'm saying try to do something to bring somebody from outside the organization in. And don't mortgage the future. You're not.
They've done it in the past.
Don't give up a tie on for somebody to help you at the back end of the rotation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't trust Morton, Worley, or Locke as my 4 or 5 starters down the stretch to try to make a serious World Series run.
Well, I tell you what, if they brought in a starter that was better than Morton, and Morton became your number 5, I'm
then
not
I would be a little happier.
I'm not going to hate on that
you
at
could
all.
have
and the
Worley,
Pirates have done
Locke,
this in the
or
past.
Morton as a number
If you
5.
remember, Wandy Rodriguez was a good pitcher back in the day, and they brought him over when he was having a good season in the middle of the season. So it's not like they won't do that, but they're going to let these guys have some time to work things out, see if they can pitch well enough. And if not, then they'll make a deal closer to the trade deadline.
How many years did Volquez sign for? Do you remember? I know he's only making $10 million this year.
Oh, you mean this contract he just signed? It was
Yeah.
3 years, $30 million.
Okay, I thought I was going to say, if it was a 1-year deal, the Pirates are crazy to not try to deal again for him at the deadline.
Yeah, I was actually hoping they'd sign him to a 2-year deal, but 3 years, $30 million.
Yeah.
If he stumbles, then you're looking at the same contract Morton got, and you're going to be bitching
Right.
about it.
Well, yeah, I only wanted, if we re-sign him, and I wasn't even sold on him, but he has had a good year after a good year last year, but it would have been a 1-year deal. I don't even know if I wanted to give it to him for 2.
But listen, every team has their problems in the rotation.
Yeah,
the
if they have
Braves,
players like Locke.
listen, I'm happy if our number 5 guy is the problem. The Braves' number 1 starter coming into the season, Julio Teheran, he sits at a 4.87 ERA right now.
Well, just because he's garbage doesn't make Locke any better.
No, I'm just saying, the Arizona Diamondbacks, they have 2 starters over 5. The Cincinnati Reds, they have a starter at 6.46, one at 5.11, one at 4.66. The Colorado Rockies, I don't think I have to mention, their whole staff is pitching terribly. I mean, you got to give them a little credit, though, pitching in Colorado. Even the Dodgers, Kershaw sits at 3.86 right now. Now, that's not a terrible ERA, but for your ace, that kind of hurts a little bit. And they have injuries in their rotation. They have a couple guys that aren't very good pitchers that they have to pitch in their rotation right now, along with that Frias. And the Marlins, they have 3 injured starters right now that were supposed to have big seasons for them in Cozart, Latos, and Alvarez. And even when they were pitching terribly, 2 of them over 6, 1 over 4. Milwaukee, we know their pitching staff has been terrible. The Mets even have 2 pitchers in the high 4s in ERA. Philadelphia has a bunch of terrible pitchers.
Muck the Fets.
San Diego, Ian Kennedy was supposed to have a big season for them. His ERA is sitting at 7.15 right now.
That's beast.
Tim Hudson for San Francisco, a 4.62 ERA. That's not terrible out of the back end of your rotation, but they were hoping for more out of him.
Hudson's old as balls, dude.
Yeah, he is. And one other team, the Nationals, obviously have problems. Strasburg's been hurting all season long, a 6.55 ERA right now. Gio Gonzalez, who has been a beast in the past, a 4.73 ERA. Doug Fister, even 4.31 ERA. So you can see all these teams have problems, although 2 teams that have pretty good pitching stats from top to bottom right now, both in the Pirates division, the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs.
The damn Cardinals are good at everything every year, so it's not even fair.
So I just want to point out, Locke isn't having the greatest season right now, but he has pitched well in 6 of his 10 games. So 60% of the time he pitched well, but those 40%, those 4 games, he pitched very bad and didn't even give the Pirates a chance to win. I let it play it out a little bit longer. But I understand people starting to bitch and wanting another pitcher in here. And you have some options. Of course, we know Jamison Tyone was supposed to be in this rotation right now.
Arm blown out.
Yes, but he had Tommy John surgery, so his major league debut is going to be delayed. And Nick Kingham, he just had Tommy John
Arm
surgery.
blown out.
He was supposed to come up later this season. So there's 2 guys that we're going to be without that we were counting on. But then you have 6 other options, I believe. Number 1, remain with Locke in the rotation for now and just let it play out a little bit.
I wish I had 2 more arms so I could give that option 4 thumbs down.
Okay, number 2, move Vance Worley back in the rotation and Locke to the bullpen.
I'm still not sold on that one.
Well, listen, Worley has a 3.64 ERA currently. That's a nice ERA. But
Our bullpen's getting worked.
well, listen, he's thrown 8 shutout innings in the bullpen, so he's pitching well out of the bullpen right now. He pitched well out of the rotation last season, but this season he made 7 starts for the Bucks with a 4.38 ERA as a starter. 3 of those starts were solid. 2 runs in 6 innings, 0 runs in 5 2/3, and 1 run in 6 innings. Very acceptable. You'll take that any day of the week. Then he had 3 poor starts. 6 runs in 6 1/3, 4 runs in 6, and 5 runs in 5. So that's the same thing Locke is doing right now.
Which is why I said earlier I thought that Locke being a lefty is what really gave him the advantage and the opportunity to keep the starting gig. And our bullpen's getting worked. Lee's is down to the minors now, correct?
I don't think he's going to stay on the team. I think someone else is actually going to pick him up and give him a chance. So he's
Scahill's not
probably
pitching
never
great.
going to pitch for the Pirates again. Who?
Scahill's not pitching great.
No, he's actually slumped a little bit recently, and I'm kind of upset with that because we were counting on him because our bullpen hasn't worked out the way we hoped this season.
No.
Although I'm still happy with Watson and Melanson at the back.
Yes, I was just going to say there are 2 solid guys. You really can count on them. Even if you'd have to swap them, I wouldn't want to. But, the early indications that Melanson had 1 bad save opportunity, so we were going to bench him. But,
Right.
yeah, those 2 at the back end are great. But these other guys, it's nice to have Worley in there. It's somebody who could be long relief, especially when you have garbage Locke on the mound. You know you're going to need him.
I don't mind Hughes either. I know he had a bad game his last time out when the Pirates were up 2-0 and looking like they were going to get the win. He actually let up 2 runs, and they lost that game 6-2 to San Diego. And it was a bad outing for him, but I still believe Hughes is a pretty good bullpen piece.
I know this would never happen, but it would be funny if they just made Locke and Worley share a start every time. One pitched 4 innings, the other pitched 4 innings.
Well, listen, what I do, I gave you those numbers, home and road splits out of Locke. A 3.52 ERA and 6 home road starts. I like Locke at home this season for sure. Now, I was hoping it'd turn it around a little bit on the road, but he just got lit up last night at San Diego, like we were saying. Why not give Worley some starts on the road?
I'm all about it.
But,
although watching the Pirates lose is pretty funny.
Okay, your third option, give Casey Sadler a shot in the rotation. This guy came up. He made a spot start for the Bucks earlier this year. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs. He did allow a jack, a walk, 5 Ks. In AAA this season, a 3.22 ERA and 9 starts, 58.2 innings pitched, just 37 Ks. So we don't have a huge he doesn't have a strikeout pitch or huge strikeout numbers, but he has a good walk rate, just 14 walks in that time, and just 42 hits in that time. So he's pitching well in AAA right now. You could give him a shot. I still rather see Locke try to work things out first. Sadler's minors career, he has a 3.23 ERA, not a high strikeout rate like I was saying. And he's only made 1 start in his career in the bigs and only 7 appearances to a 6.46 ERA. So I'm not really ready for him right now. He's just 24 years old. He was the 25th round pick in 2010 for the Pirates. I don't think he's the answer in the rotation.
What happened to straight out of Compton?
Compton is out with Tommy John surgery.
Shocking.
It's not just the Pirates, man. It's all around baseball. It happens to everyone, and that's why I don't feel bad for him. It's something you got to fight through, and they are deep at pitcher. They just got to fight through it, just like every other team. Deal with it. Number 4 option, Clayton Richard. Give him a shot in the rotation. This guy, he has the size and the build you want out of a starter, and he's a lefty, so he'd replace Locke as a lefty. 6'5", 245 pounds. That's what you want to see. But he's only made 4 starts in AAA this season, although he pitched very well. A 2.78 ERA, 22.2 innings pitched, 19 hits, 8 walks, just 11 Ks though. He's never been a guy to strike out many people. In fact, his strikeout rate is very low, so you can't expect big strikeouts for him.
Ground ball Chuck number 2.
And he hasn't pitched in the big since 2013 with San Diego when he made 11 starts, pitched 12 games to a 7.01 ERA.
It's very Locke-like.
Yeah. Now, Now, the Bucks are good at turning around pitchers, and a lot of people think this is a guy they could turn around. And his ERA was under 4 each season between 2010 and 2013. Now, this guy was never going to be an ace. He never was an ace. Like I said, he has a low K rate. But he can be a decent back end of the rotation type pitcher, but you can't expect much more out of him. And really, I think Locke has more upside than this guy right now.
I didn't know there was upside and Locke could be used in the same sentence.
You know Locke has upside.
He's reached his peak, dude. His peak is inconsistency.
It is, but that's what you get out of a fifth starter. It's something you have to accept. Now, like what I said, it's just early in the season. The past few years, Locke hasn't wound up in the rotation by season's end. He's always pulled out of the rotation at some point.
So bad.
But no, it's not that he's so bad. It's that when you make a playoff push, you're trying to get better players in there, and you can start a season off with a guy like Jeff Locke. A lot of teams do it, and then they build later in the season. But option number 5, give Adrian Sampson a shot in the rotation. This is a guy I actually like. He's 6'2", 205 pounds. He's a righty. He was the 5th round pick in 2012 for the Bucks. In 2015, this year in AAA, he's made 10 starts to a 3.15 ERA, 60 innings pitched, 60 hits, 23 runs, 21 of those earned, just 2 home runs. That's a very nice number. 17 walks is a very nice number, and 53 Ks is a very nice number. Now, in 2012, he pitched 11 games in A short, had a 2.95 ERA. And then in 2013, he pitched 25 games in A advanced with a 5.14 ERA. So that was a down season for him. But then last season in 2014, he pitched 24 games in Double A to a 2.55 ERA. So I like this guy. I want to give him a shot. But you know what? He's only pitched 10 games this year. You see, he made 24 starts in Double A, 25 starts in A advanced. I think he still needs another 15 starts in Triple A before you can actually give this guy a shot in the rotation. And I think you might see him later this season if they don't make a deal. And I'm actually kind of excited about this guy. But like I said, it's just a little bit too early for him to get caught up. Just 10 AAA starts. You want to give him more time in the highest level of the minors. And then the final option, make a deal to bring in another starter like you said.
Ding, 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 ding.
You can. Don't expect Cole Hamels or Johnny Cueto, though.
No, I'm not talking about some team's 1 or 2 guy. I'm just talking about a better, maybe a team's number 3 to plug in at 4 or 5. If you got another team's number 3, plug them in behind Burnett and then had Morton at number 5. As much as I don't like ground ball Chuck, he's better than Locke.
How I'd go with it, I'd keep Locke in the rotation. Let him pitch at home at least. If you think there's a bad matchup coming up, just put Worley in the rotation for now. If Locke doesn't end up figuring things out, maybe a Clayton Richard or an Adrian Sampson after he gets enough starts in AAA. But yeah, if nothing works out by the deadline, man, I'm right with you. Bring in another starter, a number 3 type guy to bolster this rotation and make another playoff run. They've done it in the past, like I said, and I really seen them do it here if Locke or Worley don't really figure things out and one of these guys in the minors don't come up and really be a beast.
The funny thing is it kind of doesn't even matter in the playoffs if Locke's garbage because he's not going to pitch.
Exactly.
It's going to be Burnett, Cole, and Liriano as long as all 3 are healthy. But the Bucks really want to get the division this year.
Yeah,
they're tired of that one-game playoff. It's such a 50-50 shot at getting it. It's so much pressure on the organization. They've done it 2 years in a row, lost 1, won 1. You don't want to do it a 3rd year in a row. You want that comfort in, okay, we're in the playoffs. We got a series. That's why I think that they could upgrade with Locke. And it is still a little early, but the sooner the better if you can get something done because you want to start racking up as many wins as you can get.
Well, here's the thing. The sooner you do it, the more you're going to have to pay. Because at the deadline, the teams are really trying to get rid of people, so you can get it for less. So they usually want to wait. But Pirate fans are a little spoiled right now. They got a very good offense. They have 3 dominant starters at the top end of the rotation. You need something to bitch about during the season. So
sounds like Penguin fans.
What's that?
Penguin fans. They got the best defenseman in the league in Letang. They got the 2 best forwards in the league in Crosby and Malkin. a top 5 goaltender in Fleury, and yet they still bitch that all of them need to be traded. It makes
well,
no
that's
sense.
not what I'm talking about. I'm saying you need something to bitch about. So if Locke's the one doing the worst in the rotation, you need to bitch about him. If the bullpen isn't pitching so well, you need something to complain about during the season. If everything was going 100% right, it wouldn't be no fun. So you got to have that shit stuff to.
Well, if everything was going great, then I think then that makes it the more fun. I don't want to bitch about anything. If I'm a Pirate fan, I want that Jolly Roger raising every day.
If
I don't want him
if we
sinking
had
half the
5
time.
dominant starters in this rotation, as soon as Burnett had that game where he let up 4 runs in 5.2 innings, people would be like, "Oh my God, we got to do something with Burnett."
Well, I know you got to cut him, dude. He's done. He's old,
That's what I'm
washed
saying.
up.
But there is a lot of options moving forward. I'd stay pat right now. Stick with Jeff Locke, at least at home, and let Worley get some time maybe on the road or versus the Cubs because Locke had trouble against them this year. But I do see changes by season's end as well.
I'm shipping him out. Abu Dhabi later, buddy. Let's go to India and find another $1 million arm. Well, that wraps it up. Thanks, Dash, for coming in. Thank you, fans, for listening. You guys could follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You could follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the website at thespreadnews.simplesite.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Locke sucks.